Here we are. This is lesson 7 of drawing a 1963 Corvette Stingray, and as you can see, we did quite a bit off camera. Like I told you, I went ahead and darkened up the shadow underneath the car, so that lets me play around with darker values on the body itself. But for now, I'm still just putting down fairly light layers as like a base coat before I go and darken the ones that I want to be the darkest and leaving the other ones as just a highlight. But I'm not going to leave anything without some kind of darkening in it, some stippling in it of some kind, because just the paper itself isn't going to make a very good highlight. So even at that, I don't like to leave it alone. So you'll see that, like on the left front fender there, the driver's side fender in the front, that it hangs out in the air. If that doesn't have something in it, then it's going to look really weird. So I am going to change this around a little bit, but for now, I'm just putting a light coat on, and then we'll figure out which parts are going to be the most accented with darkness, and the other ones will be lighter, of course. And this is the dance that you do with this, is trying to figure out where the values are going to be the darkest and where they're going to be the lightest, and not to put them too close together. You can make one blend into another one, but the real good contrast comes from a really dark color next to a really light one, and those are the things that give you the glossiness in the body and all of that. And this is a very shiny body, so I'm going to have to be very careful with how I do that and make sure that I get as much drama in this as possible, because that'll make a much more effective story. It'll make it more fun to draw as well as to look at. Okay, working on the top and now on the left fender, but you see I have here on the areas that I'm working on, I have drawn lines that came off the photograph, and those are places where there are highlights, and I haven't touched those yet. I'm just reserving them so that we can see how one goes against the other. But again, we're going to have some very dark spots and some very light spots, and they're going to be near to one another, so I'm trying to make sure that I don't get too dark in the places that should be light. So that's why I'm putting a light coat on here of dots. And of course this has the the split rear window on it, so that's going to be interesting in its own. That also is going to have a highlight in it that's going to be so light that you can't see through the glass in a couple places, the reflection off the glass, and that will help me tell the story better too. Whenever I can, I use glass in a car for whether it's the windshield, back window, or side windows. I try to use that to show that there is some light that's lost looking through the glass, and a nice bright reflection on the glass really helps with that. So you can put a darkness on it, and right next to it you can have something that's very, very light, and that really helps, again, telling the story and making it look more pleasing and more dramatic. Okay, just working on toward the back side. And this photograph that I'm using has a very, very strong reflection on the body in many places. And of course, because the contours of this car, it has some sharp lines that come right next to one another, so that's going to also make the contrast between the two that much more effective. But what really helps the most is to have a dark next to a light, so we're going to work on that tomorrow. I'll start darkening up some of these areas, and then we'll see how far we can go without blowing the thing out completely. And I want to start making it look as much as I can like what the final product will be. But again, like in case you're new, I always try to leave some darkness out of it until I get to the final go round, and that's like either 1 or 2 lessons. I'll go after the darkest values and really work those up. I don't want to do it too early, because if I do, then I stand the chance of of making this so dark in some places that I have to make it into a black car, or might not even be able to rescue it because I've gotten it so dark. So you have to be careful with that too. But getting down toward the end of it for today. But if you come back tomorrow, we will start putting some of the dark areas in, and we'll do trial fitting of the colors and see how that works out. Anyway, I hope to see you tomorrow. This is going to look a lot more like a Corvette tomorrow, I promise. Anyway, like I say, I hope to see you tomorrow, and have a good evening. Talk to you then. Bye.